Welcome to She is Resilient, a podcast for women on their healing journeys who are ready to start living their most authentic and empowered lives outside of survival mode. I'm your host, Tatiana, trauma and somatic therapist, as well as a holistic coach, and I'm on a mission to help more women heal their nervous systems. Each week, me and my guests are going to get real and vulnerable about the experiences that led us to becoming the empowered and resilient women we are today. You'll leave this podcast with the skills, knowledge, and inspiration to start creating the life you deserve. Because if another woman can do it, so can you. Welcome to another episode of She is Resilient. Today we have another amazing guest, Iris. Iris, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do for a living?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, hi, everybody. My name is Iris. I am a Latina life coach that focuses on just helping my clients be able to rebuild trust and to just go with transitions with more confidence. I am a cafecito lover. I love my coffee and exploring new coffee shops. I am a traveler. I'm an explorer. I'm a fiancé. And I'm just a very proud eldest daughter of immigrant parents. I know that for a lot of us Latinas and Latinos out there, we are very prideful of where we come from, but I definitely want to just shout that out, just being able to be Latina and just where I've come from. I'm just proud of that. So I feel like that has a whole piece of my identity. And what do I do for a living? So I actually just made a huge transition out of the 9 to 5 job that I had. I am currently looking for another similar role in that. But as of right now, yeah, I am a life coach. I am trying to expand my business. And that's just like the exciting news until, we'll see what God's plans are. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So it's exciting. It's a new transition.
Totally. Yeah, this is a big
Yes.
deal.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about who you were before you got to this point. Before you became this current version of yourself, who were you before?
That's a great question. And you had me reflecting about this even earlier. Who was Edie's I'm just gonna even bring it back to 2019. Um, Edie's was someone who was lost. Edie's lost her identity based on a unhealthy relationship that she was in, and she was just a people pleaser, wanted to please her family, wanted to please the people that she loved, even just people pleasing at work, right? Because I was an educator for 7 years and I loved what I did, but I was always giving so much of my energy and I wasn't intentional either. I definitely was, I want to say, also just trying to find my higher purpose. I knew I was meant for more, but I was really limiting myself and I was dimming my light. And, when I look back at that version of myself, she was just a wanderer. She was just trying to figure herself out again after, being super successful, graduating from college with a BA in speech pathology and a master's in education. Everything just seemed right? Like she's educated, she's doing well for herself, she has money coming through, she has a picture perfect relationship at the time. What's going on with this girl? But something inside of me, my soul was just telling me like there's more for us and this isn't it. And I felt like the oddball because my friends were very comfortable and very happy with their lives. And I felt like I was the only one that wanted more. And I thought that was weird. And so one day, after having a, fight with my ex-boyfriend at the time, I just remember walking out of his place and taking a walk and just putting on my headphones. And the first thing I wanted to do was just scroll, right? Because at that moment, I also did not know how to regulate my emotions. And so I would go to social media and just try to forget about it. That was my mechanism back in the day. And the first thing that popped up was Jay Shetty. That's when he was barely starting and had all this video contents. And there was something about him that just triggered this awakening in me where I was like, I need to change. I need to grow. I need to move forward with whatever this feeling is. And so as I kept advancing in that, in 2020 is when the pandemic happened, everything just like closed down. And it was really time for me to really ground myself. And I was already doing the work as I, discovered about Jay Shetty and stuff. And that's when in 2020, I was resilient enough to say, like, I'm going to leave this relationship. I'm going to start a new identity of mine. And I'm just going to embrace whatever that means and go after what that more meant for me at that time. And so, yeah, that's where the journey really began. Like, I just started to self explore again, rediscover who Edie is. What is it that Edie likes? To prioritize myself, to give myself the love that was missing instead of seeking it from other places and from people. And then I also started setting boundaries, like practicing, because boundaries, so this day, girl, is one of the hardest things that you can do. But I started practicing on all of that. And I also made a very conscious and intentional decision of wanting to be intentional with my life. And I started, just analyzing different parts of my life, my job, my self-care, my family, my friends, like, what do I want moving forward? And 2021 was the year of transformation for me, where I really took radical action on everything that I laid out in 2020. And yeah, 2020 was a year of reflection now that I look back at that. But 2021 was the year of transformation. I left that toxic job for me. I decided to redefine values for myself. I decided to redefine how I wanted to navigate friendships and seek for other friendships that I always desired. 2020, even just to go backwards, I left that relationship. I allowed myself to expand and I did more of what filled my cup. I traveled so much. I went to Tulum. I hung out with friends. I met new people. I started putting myself out there more in social media. And I even invested in a life coach for the first time ever. And it was the best thing because the first workshop that I had with her was about writing a letter to yourself for the year. And after that call with that group, I was like, nah, like I'm going in. And yeah, it was the one of the most transformational things ever because after finishing that program, I decided that I wanted to do the same. I wanted to be a life coach. And that's where kind of my journey with life coaching even began too. So 2021 was a beautiful year. It was a year of dreams, transformation, taking action, and really allowing myself to shine my light again.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And you said a few things, right? I think that, so 2020, I think, was definitely a year where so many people kind of had that reality check because you had no choice but to slow down and really reflect on, like, what do I really want, right?
Yes.
And then the other two things that you said were that you were always a people pleaser, right? And I feel like that's so common, especially in Hispanic families, right? Like a lot of us are people pleasers
Yes.
or recovering people pleasers, should I say, right? And I feel like that's really common, right? And so we're doing all of these things and we're achieving all of these things, but not because we want to, but because we feel like we have to, right? And at the same time, right, like you had the boyfriend, you had the career, you had the degrees, you had everything,
Everything.
and something was still missing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you weren't happy.
Yeah. Exactly. No, you're hitting the spot because as we're even reflecting and talking about this, I'm like, yeah, girl, like how many of us first gen Latinas, Latinos out there, and even just Hispanic families, as you mentioned, we go through that. And all our lives, like, makes it hard too as you navigate because if you're anything like me, where you were following a blueprint for your education life, you're checking all the boxes and you're like, okay, hice todo bien, I did everything right, but yet it's something is missing. And that's when, I really discovered that a lot of us, we do what we're told. We live a life that our families expect of us. And sometimes they mean really well, but it's like we go into this identity crisis, which is what I was kind of going through. And when you don't really know who you are, it's easy to feel like you're getting lost in this world, especially with culture and people and all these different expectations that are placed on you. It's so hard to hear yourself with all the noise. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like, it's the hardest thing. But if there's anybody out there that is in this stage where they're like going through people pleasing, or they can't block off the noise, or they're recovering people pleasers but are still feeling a little lost, because it's a skill that we all have to practice, especially when
Totally.
it comes to family. Like, right, it depends, but it's a hard thing. But just know that, you know it just takes time. I think that's what it is too. It takes time, and give yourself time to ground yourself. Because when I look back in my journey, 2021 was that. 2020 was even that too. It was the year of the reflection. And then 2021 was a year where I had to start trusting myself. I had to start trusting that I was the inner compass of my life. And that although everybody has these beautiful suggestions of how I should live my life, I need to trust myself and know that I know what it is that I need. And I think that a lot of us as people pleasers, we rely on external validation, and we want to just make everybody happy. But at the end of the day, it's like we have to take care of ourselves and make ourselves happy to then be able to spread the joy for everybody else, be the walking testimony, and just be able to give people a different glimpse of what life can look like. Because a lot of us, let's be real, a lot of our Latino families, they don't know what that's like just yet. And
Yeah.
so I think that sometimes we go through these journeys of difficulty because it's our way to show walking testimony to others of what is possible, especially for those that we love and care for.
1000%. Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that process was like for you. You said you learned to trust yourself. So what did that actually look like?
Oh, that's so good. So in 2021, I listed all of the things that I wanted. And no matter how big or small, like, I want people to just be expansive here. Allow yourself to just jot down whatever comes to you. If you want to go take solo trips and do all these things, like, write it down. But it started off small. Like, I remember not being comfortable with solo dates before. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to honor this. Like, every Wednesday, we're going on a solo date at a different coffee shop with a journal, and we're just going to sit there. We don't need to do anything else, versus before I would brush it off if things came up and I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. I can just do it later. No, no, no. Like, I created sacred time and I honored it
Mm,
because my soul was calling for that, right? Like, my inner being. And so when I started committing those small promises to myself, I started trusting myself more. Even when I would drive around San Jose, because shout out to all of my Bay Area people, I am from San Jose, California. I would just drive around and then challenge myself to go a different direction and just get lost, and then
mm,
trust myself to get back home. And I know
wow.
that sounds a little crazy, but I needed to do that. Why? Because I needed to train myself to be uncomfortable, but then trust myself in those uncomfortable situations. If I get lost, it's okay. We're not going to panic. Why? Because there's a GPS that can redirect us back home. But allow yourself to
Okay.
enjoy the journey. That, I guess, those car rides really taught me that. And so, yeah, like, I would take a left turn, right turn. And yeah, there were places that I would end up in. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a little sketch. But then I reminded myself, like, it's okay. We trusted ourselves, we followed our gut, and there's still a solution out there. Like, we can just reroute ourselves with the GPS and try again another day. And
Yeah.
that really did build a lot of trust in myself. Like, those were small little things. So, one, keep promises and get out of your comfort zone, but also like validate yourself in those moments when you feel like, oh my gosh, like, you want to talk unkindly to yourself, just bring it back and honor and say, I trusted myself. And this
Yeah.
was just an experience. It was just a time of exploration. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think a lot of us need that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. 1000%. I love that so much. And, just thinking about you intentionally driving and getting lost, it just, I imagine that being so liberating, right? Like there's this
Girl.
freedom that comes with that, right?
Yes, 1,000%. Like, oh my gosh, that liberation word is perfectly it's the right word to describe it.
Yeah.
It's true because there's no heavy expectations of I have to get somewhere or someone's waiting for me. And even if someone was waiting for me, it's okay. Like I'm trusting myself to get there. And if I'm not there for a reason, it's for a reason. And I've learned to trust life like that. And it is liberating. It's freedom. It gives you this moment of expansiveness where you're like, if I can do these type of things, I can do anything. And let me tell you, Tati, when you have that feeling of I can do anything, there's no stopping you. And I think that that was something that I had missed from my younger self because that was something that I honestly was as a teen, like very expansive, very liberated, very free. And when I lost that, I forgot what that was like. And now that I was able to do those type of practices, that moment of freedom it's so much of us seek those moments. And it's about giving ourselves the opportunity to have freedom. I think a lot of us, we don't give ourselves permission to have freedom because we feel this heavy weight where we're carrying the world. Like I think about the loteria card con el mundo, and we're literally walking life like this. But the moment you drop the ball and you just let it go and you allow yourself to just be, it is freaking amazing. Freedom tastes awesome. Like you don't want to go back to anything else.
Yes. It reminds me of, so I was actually thinking about this on my drive here today. I was driving and I was just thinking about how liberating it is. And this kind of connects to like the people pleasing too. Like a lot of the women that I work with have a hard time with like worrying about what other people are going to think about them, right? And it's so liberating when you just kind of surrender to having people think whatever you want about you, right? There's this freedom and liberation of like, I can be weird, I can do whatever I want, and I can just be fully me, and it's okay because I like me, right? It sort of goes back to that self-trust that you were talking about too, right? Like I trust myself, I love myself, so it doesn't matter what other people think of me, right?
Yes, no, 1,000%. And guys, if you guys can see how Tati's moving, even that feels free. So wherever you're at, if you are listening to this podcast and you're walking outside or you're in your room, allow your arms to just flow up in the air and wave it and just let your body feel expansive. Because if you're not resonating with the car ride, or if you are trying to practice what freedom or just that self-expression looks like and just self-trust, allow yourself to be weird at the house. Like even if you're just closed doors and you want to just like move your hands around or your arms around, like wiggle it out and shake it out however you want, like do that, because that will connect to what we're talking about. So thanks for doing that, Tati, because even you did it and I was like, let me do it with you.
I feel like I'm always moving my body when I'm talking. It's like, just kind of allowing yourself sort of that permission that you were talking about, like that permission to just be and like surrender and be yourself and just be weird.
Yes, I love it though. I love it. So I hope everybody practices this.
Totally. Yeah. So, okay. So tell us a little bit more about what told you were feeling. Maybe it was just like this feeling inside of you, or maybe a perspective change, or what was really telling you, okay, I'm this new version of myself now.
No, these are so perfect. So I have multiple examples on this one. It's like that point that you brought up just recently in regards to being comfortable with who I am. And I remember this exact moment in Tulum with all of my friends. We were all in, I believe it was Playa del Carmen or Isla de Mujeres, and it started to rain, and everybody was eating and everything. And something in my spirit was just like, go out there in the rain and sit down and allow this rain to just come on you. And I was a little nervous because my friends knew, I was being very spiritual and doing all this self development and whatnot. But I had to trust myself in that moment to just be like, you know what, guys, like, excuse me. I know you guys are all eating, just watch my food, but I'm going to sit out in the rain and just sit there. And whoever wants to join me can do it. And they all started to laugh. They were all like, oh my gosh, here goes Iris with her crazy stuff. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out there. And there was this cute little egg, like chair thing on the sand. raining. And I just sat there, Tati, and I closed my eyes. I meditated and I just let it be. I just let myself express whatever it was. Like I started just like hugging myself and just thanking God and universe for allowing me to be in a place of peace, in a place of freedom, in a place of expansiveness, because that's how I felt. And when I opened my eyes, it was so cool to see at least one friend sitting there and just
Wow.
enjoying it with me. And I was just like, wow, that is so amazing. And when we were done with all of the fun activities that we did, one of my friends pulled me in and was like, it was so amazing and peaceful to just watch you embrace the rain. I'm so happy that you're in this place now. It's very contagious, and I want to be more like you. And
Wow.
I just thought it was so beautiful because in that moment, I was just simply being me. And that's something that I just told her, just be you, embrace you, do all the stuff that your soul is calling you to do, no matter how weird it may seem for other people. But there will be other people that resonate with you in those
Mhm.
moments. And it's been one of the greatest things, or even just being able to say no to the things that no longer align to me, right? Like I used to be a partier girl. Like I drank a lot before this past version of Edie's because it was my way of getting away from reality. And when I no longer needed alcohol in that way to cope and to live life, that was also a version of me where I noticed, wow, we're healing. When I started taking care of my body more and eating the right things and feeding not only my body, but my mind and my spirit, girl, that's how I knew I was also healing and being able to just take a step back, right? Of realizing maybe toxic traits or unhealthy traits, I should say, where maybe it was once okay for me, but being okay to be like, I no longer want to participate in those things. I'm here
Mhm.
for you, but I no longer want to be in that space.
Yeah.
I felt like that was the biggest signs for me knowing that I was healing. And then when I invested in therapy, girl, because I think that was another thing too along the way where I invested in therapy and
Yeah.
it really allowed me to just open up in a whole different level.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. I feel like as you're talking, the word surrendering keeps coming up, right? Like I feel like throughout your journey, there seems to be a lot of surrendering, right? Like even
Yeah,
again, going back to getting lost driving, right? There's
yeah,
some surrendering that has to go with that. And then also when you were talking about just like being the only one to go out there in the rain and just sit there, right? Like there was this surrendering of like, it's okay if other people don't go with me. I'm going to do it because I want to, right? And
yeah,
then, I feel like we get so stuck with, um, when we start our healing journey, we can get really sick of like wanting everyone to go on a healing journey, or like everyone needs to change with me, or like I'm not drinking,
yes,
so like you need to not drink, or like I'm doing this and so you need to do it, right? And because we can see the unhealthy patterns in other people, and so we want them so badly to heal. But there's this surrendering that comes with really just being in the present moment and really feeling connected with yourself, that you surrender to the fact that it's okay if other people don't come along that journey with you. Other people will follow naturally just by watching you. So you're just kind of like
yeah,
being that role model, right? Like when you
yeah.
opened your eyes, there were one or two other friends sitting there with you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's such a good point that you bring because, sometimes I catch myself even till this day where you want people to be on this ride with you in the journey because, you see the unhealthy traits, you're doing the work, you want people to join you on this amazing ride. Because I've been guilty of that too, where sometimes I forget and I'm like, just do it. Like, this is the way. Like, I promise you, like, you'll feel so liberated and free and this and that. And you're so right. It's being graceful and gentle and meeting people at their level in those moments, but then giving yourself the opportunity that, hey, although they're not ready to just be with me just yet, I can still be me. I can still expand. And I think that is so crucial for a lot of us to remember, even myself, Tati, as you mentioned this, I needed this reminder because I'm sure if my family was to listen to this right now, they'd be like, okay, girl, I hope you heard what that said. So I'm so
Totally.
guilty of that, you know?
I'm guilty of it too, for sure. I want everyone to understand the nervous system so badly that I'm like, it goes back to the nervous system.
Yeah.
And like I get it. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about resiliency and creating resiliency in your nervous system. And you've clearly created resiliency in your body and your nervous system, right? Because you've made it through all of those struggles. You made it to this point, right? Now you're doing something that you really love. You're a life coach. You're getting married. You're finally with someone who is, you feel more aligned with. And so I feel like you are, and just like all of the other women that I bring on to this podcast, you are the definition of resilience, right? Like you have experienced resiliency. And so, how can somebody else listening to this create some of that resiliency in their nervous system? What do you suggest somebody do if they're kind of feeling stuck in their healing journey and they're trying to figure out how to move past whatever they're going through?
That's so good. Feel, feel it to heal it. I don't know how many times I repeated that back in 2019 when I heard it, back in 2020, 2021. I still do it till this day.
Yeah.
Feel it. Recognize where you're at. Your moment of where you're at is holy. And that is like a famous saying that also Michael Todd says out there. And some of us, we think that the adversity, the challenges are to punish us. And we start to put ourselves down. But I want you to take a step back and not feel that way or to label it that way. I want you to open up and be curious and just ask universe or God or whoever your highest power is of what are you trying to teach me in this lesson? And remember that things don't happen to you, they're happening for you. And it's okay to acknowledge also in the journey that when we're facing adversity, that it sucks. Like you can totally say that because I think a lot of us, we try to be warriors with this beautiful smile and just like march like nothing's happening. But it's okay to just honor the moments of where you're at. Look at your surroundings, look at where you're at. And it's okay to feel and be like, I'm sad. This really sucks. And then when you're done and you're like, okay, are we ready? Shake it off and recognize that these moments are teaching you something. And that was so helpful for me because so many of us, we tend to fall victim of our experiences. But I want you to not be the victim. Embrace and be the strong warrior that you really are. And when you're ready, put that armor back up and just be like, this too shall pass. This is going to be, just a part of the journey, and embrace what is to come. Because I kid you not, the moment you shift the mindset of this is, oh my gosh, like, why am I here? What, oh my gosh, like, when we fall into that hole and we switch it of, this is going to be okay, more than okay. We got this. And when you surround yourself with the right people, you can move forward. And that's what resiliency is being able to move forward even when things feel uneasy, when they're uncomfortable, when they're scary, when they're hard. And it's not to say don't ignore the situation. It's just recognize where you're at. When you're ready, move intentionally where whatever it is that you're seeking for, and don't give up. Have faith. I think that was another big one for me that I learned how to be more just stronger in my faith. And it started off like very spiritually, and then God was definitely something very present to me till this day. And I want you to find your faith in a higher power and believe in yourself. Like faith isn't just who's out there, it's about how do you believe in yourself? Do you truly believe you're worthy of things? And we have to remind ourselves by also collecting evidence that, baby girl, like you have not gone through hard things before, like, or you have gone through hard things before. And this is just a repeat, and we le seguimos. We got this. Like, you got to be your biggest hype women. And if you need the right people to be also the people that will grab you and elevate you and push you forward, like, find your people, because that's going to help you too. So if you're stuck and you're like, how do I become resilient? How do I move forward? How do I get myself out of this hole and, and just move forward with life? Just do all those things. Like first, like just feel it.
Mhm.
Second, when you're ready, take action.
Mhm.
Third, have faith in yourself and faith in whoever it is that your highest power is that's divinely guiding you.
Yeah.
And I think the last one is keep speaking kindly to yourself and have the right people around you so you can keep moving forward. Because the more that we look back, it doesn't help us. So
Mhm.
keep moving forward.
I love that. I love that. And I really love that you're talking about like really trusting the process, right? Because you said that you started your journey in 2020, 2021, right? We're in 2024, and I think I can relate to that, right? Like I actively started like my healing journey in 2020, and again, it's 2024, right? So like
Yeah.
it's been 4 years of actively doing the work to get to this
Yes.
point. And so a lot
Yes.
of the time, I know that, I can relate to this too. Like, we want like a quick fix or we want things to change right away. Um, and it takes time. So it's really just
Yes.
continuing to do everything that you just mentioned, right? And trusting that things will shift and that it's all just temporary. I love that.
1,000% girl. Because if someone needs a different visual here, it's like you go to the gym, right? And we don't get the results the next day. If I want those nice, beautiful abs and those nice legs, for the summer, like, we have to put in the work. And sometimes when we fall out of the consistency, give yourself a lot of grace because this healing journey is not easy. It's okay to just like go back and restart or even modify the way you do things, right? Like it's the same thing with healing. Modify as you go. Each season, you will be very different. Resiliency will look different in each season. And you just got to check in with yourself to be like, is this the way, or even just check in with your body, actually, just ask this question. What is it that I need in this very moment so I can move forward? What do I need? And that will help you. And if you're starting out, just remember, just like Tati said, it takes time. So if you are like, oh my gosh, it's not working, like, why? These people, they told me that this might work. Just it takes time. And trust me, I was there too. I would be like, this ain't working. Like I would throw my little tantrums. But just know from someone that's gone through the journey, Tati's gone through the journey, and we're still going through the journey. Like
Uh-huh.
it just takes time. It's just a muscle that we got to keep building each and every time. And again, based on the season that we're in, we might have to start over, or we might just have to modify, or we're going to feel like we're in a good place. So just have lots of grace and just evaluate and take a step back to help you on
Oh,
where you're at.
yes. Mic drop. I feel like I just want to do like snaps. Like, oh, that was so good. Just
Happy. You're the
sharing so much
sweetest.
wisdom right now. I love
You're
it.
the best. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I loved having this conversation with you. I feel like so many people are really going to resonate with you and really going to enjoy hearing you talk about your journey and again all of the wisdom that you just shared with us. How can people connect with you if they resonated with you and they want to hear more of you?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I'm honored. So if you feel like you connected with me or you want to write me a message or whatever it is, you guys can find me at intentionally underscore iris, or as I say, Edis, for Instagram. That is like my main handle. You will see my website there. You can also book a one-to-one connection call with me if you are interested in working together in one-to-one coaching. I am working on possibly towards after I get married, guys, after June, to have a group coaching program. So I'm manifesting it here. So I think it'll be very exciting. So if you are interested and you're like, I may not be ready for one-to-one coaching yet, but I want the group coaching, follow me and all the updates will be there. And I just can't wait to connect with you. And even if it's just to shoot a message and to see where you're at and you just need a person to talk to, I'm
Mhm.
here. Just know that we're here to support you because we know what the journey looks like and we know what it's like to feel alone or feel like we are lost or wandering, but just know that you are not alone. You are exactly where you need to be. And just remember to build that community. And we are that community. So reach out, even if it's just for that.
Oh my gosh, yes, I love it. And trust me, you want to be in Edie's world. You really do. I just love your energy. And I should have said this at the beginning when we first started recording, but I just like the moment that I started following you and started watching your Instagram lives and your Instagram stories, I was like, I need to be friends with this girl. Like I just love the way that you speak. I love your energy. It's just like yeah, we were just like
Oh,
meant to find each other. And so trust me, if you want someone to be your like hype woman or just be there for you or like you want to hire Edie. You want to be in her world. So please go follow her
see.
on Instagram, go hire her as your coach.
Oh, thank you, Tati. I am honored. And again, too, guys, you are all here in Tati's platform for a reason. And so I'm going to be bouncing that back to her. She is an amazing, amazing coach. I know she does therapy work on the side as well. And her content is just freaking amazing. So follow her, reach out to her, tell her how amazing she's doing as well on this platform, sharing her voice and amplifying it to help us be better. We would truly appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Bethy. And I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for you reaching out to me and just creating this space. So I'm thankful for you,
Oh my
girl.
god. I love this. It's just like bouncing off the love, right?
Yes,
Like we could do this all day, right? Just bouncing the love
literally.
off each other.
Literally.
Uh,
I
thank you
love it.
again so much for being here, and I will talk to you later.
Yes, talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you absolutely loved this episode, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcast, or take a screenshot and share this episode on social media. Don't forget to tag me at tatiana.holistic.coach. The more nervous systems we reach, the more generational cycles we break, and the more we contribute to a kinder and safer world. And if you're looking for somatic healing services, send me a DM and I'd love to chat on how I can support you. I'll see you in the next episode.